some people looked at me like, is she confused? Like, look at her doing all these things. But I'm like, no, that was my unlock. Welcome back to But Are You Happy, the channel that's all about living an unconventional life, and it's really the advice you're not supposed to hear. My name is Ida, and I love sharing both my stories and stories of all the people I've met that are living or have chosen to live an unconventional life, because I've realized that because so many of us have no exposure to these other lives or other paths you can take, we feel so trapped into one path. So today I'm live from Bali, which is a very special place to me, and it felt right to talk about alignment and share both my story of alignment, but also just kind of dive into the topic. I think it's a hot word right now, alignment, and I totally get it, but alignment can honestly be as useless as your university degree. And I feel like that's probably really hypocritical because I also preach alignment, but it's because I understand practicing alignment is way more important than finding it. Alignment is a moment. It's an aha moment, but really all it is a moment. It's when you realize what you're meant to do, whether it's after training or after an experience. But the issue is 98% of us are forever searching for alignment, because even though we have found it, we choose to almost ignore it because it is so intimidating. Usually finding alignment can be something that's so far off from what you're living today. It could be like, oh my gosh, I'm in the completely wrong relationship, job, city. So you choose to retract and instead say, oh, I'm still searching. The same way people go to university, graduate, and then realize they can't get a job. They're like, oh, I'm going to go back to school. We're like continuously going back and being like, oh, I haven't found it yet. You have found it. It was just so intimidating. And because you're not taught that you can actually pursue these other ways of living, you choose to run away from it. So for me and how I integrated to find my alignment, it was so I've always had a full-time corporate jobs, loved some, didn't love some. But when I was in Bali, I wasn't working. I took the time to really just like immerse myself during my 300-hour yoga teacher training. And I've always worked on my journal business, but I wasn't sure really like what I was going to fully do with it. Like, where was I going to take this? What did I want to do with it? Did I really want to leave the corporate world? But I had this purpose or this calling of how I could really integrate yoga and journaling together. I had people who confirmed with me. They felt like, you really do know what you want. Like this, you are in it right now. This is your moment. You have figured out that yoga is fully part of you. Like, it had always been a part-time, a activity. I never wanted it to be a job because I enjoy it so much. And to me, the idea of making it a job would then have more restrictions around my practice. I wanted to just free flow. And in that moment, I realized, wait, I can do both. And that's my alignment. I think people are so fixated on like purpose can be one thing. Like, you can only have a corporate job. You can only have a business. You can only be a yoga teacher. What if my alignment was in that moment, realizing I can have it all? Because since I was a young child, I always used to say, I think my superpower is that I can be it all. I found out in that moment what I was meant to do. I'm like, okay, yoga is a big part of my life and I know I can pursue it. I love the idea of corporate programs, corporate retreating, but I could have come home and retracted and been like, oh, it was a really great time in Bali. I'm still figuring out what I want to do. I leaned in so hard to my alignment. 2023 was the most chaotic year of my life. Like, I came home from Bali, guns a-blazing. I'm like, I'm going to work in wellness. I am going to launch my books because they make so much sense for me. And I'm going to go hard in my practice. I'm going to host amazing workshops, events, corporate classes, corporate events. And I dove in hard. And I think some people looked at me like, is she confused? Like, look at her doing all these things. But I'm like, no, that was my unlock. The opposite of me and I do have people like this in my life, and I coach them all the time. I'm like, you literally know what you need to do. Like, you have found it. I can't help you anymore. Like, you know what you need to do, but you are actively choosing to not pursue it. I had people like that. Came back from Bali, was like, okay, this is terrifying. I don't think I'm going to pursue it. That was probably just a fantasy. Bali's a little bit of a dream. It's not real. I don't think I'm actually going to do all those things. I'm going to take another course maybe, and I'm just going to keep figuring it out. And it breaks my heart that alignment was so terrifying for them. It was so terrifying for them to realize what they were meant to do that they went the other way. That's why alignment, or finding alignment, is as useless as a university degree. Finding it is like, so what? So what that you found it? And so if you've had a moment in your life when you really felt like you realized exactly what you're meant to do, what happened 1 week after, 1 month after, 1 year? Did you lose it? Did you kind of retract back from it? That's really common. Like I said, 98% of the world is like, I don't know what I'm meant to do. I'm still figuring it out. You don't need another soul searching trip. You don't need another teacher training. You don't need another aha moment. You have had it. You chose to walk away. And if I had not taken that risk coming home, I actually thought the easy way out for me in 2023, and Sahara Rose has a really great podcast about this too, which is a topic I'm going to dive into later, is how it is so easy. It is so easy to not integrate. I could have taken the easy way. I could have been a yoga teacher in Bali. I could have not come home. I could have not had to face my other world. But I realized, no, like that's the easy way. Like dropping everything I've ever worked for and just teaching yoga in a different country and not facing what I'm meant to do, that would have been so much easier. But instead I said, I had to go home. Like I have to launch these journals. I have to pursue it. I have to do these rock hard events. I have to like kill it with my events. I have to show people that I care so much about journaling. I care so much about passion and helping people find their passion. I'm gonna go back and do it. I'm so grateful I made that decision. Like every time I come back to Bali, I do think about what life would be like if I lived here. Totally an option. But at the same time, that was the easy way out. Alignment is as useless as a university degree. It's a moment in time, and if you choose not to do anything with it, the same way if you don't get a job after university with your degree, you go back to school, you will go back to the drawing board and spend your entire life searching. And so the same way I chose to integrate and pursue my alignment, that is how I achieved what I achieved today. But I always think how I could have walked away because alignment was terrifying for me. There was so much I had to change. So I hope this reminds you that when you find that aha moment, when you find alignment, dive deep, fall in hard. You are so lucky to have found that moment, and now lean into it and see what magic comes from it. And if anyone ever questions what you are pursuing, just look at them and say, but are you happy? Don't forget to subscribe and let me know if you've had your aha moment, and I can't wait for the next episode. See you guys.